Why was the book written? To set the record straight? This is important because at one time, post Jim Morrison, there was a harmony between Manzarek, Krieger, and my guest. Like a spear, they blazed through and became a band of melodic invention, with studio cats like Ray Neapolitan, Charles Lloyd, and Bobby Porter Hall, and all the other ships with sails. Who do you think scouted the talent? Who was inside the Hollywood studios banging on vibraphones with Emil Richards? Or brought Harvey Brooks on a brief tour when Manzarek couldn't handle the bass lines? My guest. This unison was channeled in a metaphysical sense from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who helped youthful rebels, like my guest, elevate to transcendental consciousness. He visited the States often, held seminars, was connected to his students in the most intimate fashion. This with the spawning of legal LSD created by our government and lackadaisical music executives allowed for humanity to grow and the music to be full of all those spices. It operated in free space, unencumbered by modern-day pole testing and barrier-laden music. The book was written to show that people are corruptible. Even people seen saintly can become tainted with greed and lose the balance of craft, survival, and soul. The maddening attempt to justify using the name The Doors to make millions of dollars so you can buy that fifth Lamborghini, the Mitt Romney La Cholla Beach House, even though Manzarek and Krieger would have been kicked to the curb before the gig even got started, except for one Jim Morrison, who created the poet warrior with an emphasis on art and not on the trolls whose double-breasted suits reek of uniformity, elimination of humanity, and authenticity. Team over the individual. You can do it all. You could before, and it will be done again. But not without insurgents like my guest, providing a lineage, parading through college towns, touring his new book, Unhinged. How to advocate for yourself, how to swing the band, and how to look a bottom-line corporation in the face and say thanks but no thanks to your millions of dollars, because my soul and Atma will be better off for it. Standing for principles can be like sticking your head in the sand. But when someone stands up for the values of a long-lost brother, honoring the same principles infused in him by that brother, there is only one way to describe it: the anti-greed gene. He doesn't apologize for these personality traits. Some were embedded in his soul from those he learned with along the way, like Francisco Aguabella, Shelley Mann, Keith Rucker, and Michael Stahl. What to make of Jim Morrison? I just don't know. He passed before I started this program, so I can't talk to him. As a journalist and a historian, instead of watching movies or reading biographies, I prefer to do primary source excavation with those still visiting this planet. John Densmore, it's a high honor to welcome you to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Damn. Wow. What a great monologue. All right. I know can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
I know you're going to ask me a bunch of questions, but I've got to start off asking you one.
Please.
I mean, Jake, your tastes are so friggin' eclectic. It just amazes me. I mean, that's why I wanted to do this. I mean, besides rock and roll, you know about Emil Richards and Zakir Hussain. It's really inspiring, because that's my world.
I know. And it took me a long time because, for full disclosure, I really am not a Doors aficionado in any way, shape, or form. So as I was preparing for this... That's
good. That's what my girlfriend said to me 10 years ago.
No, but the thing is, I was like, okay, so why do John Densmore and I, what are we connecting on? Like, what are we connecting on? And this book, as painful and maddening at times as it was to read, is all the values came into play. And it is the eclecticism of a different time, roughly the decade of 63 to 73, when there was a better balance of consciousness, integrity, authenticity, and soul wrapped into the music. And your opening story about Jim basically saying, The company.
Well, I'm very proud that the first sentence of my book is "fuck you." You're gonna have to bleep that, but go ahead.
No, we're not going to bleep that. No, it just won't run on the web when we tout your book tour. But it's true. It's to me, the beauty of it all is that we are all brothers, and for some reason, I guess that was my first question.
Well, wait, let me just compliment you on. I'm glad you get the integrity thing, but we have brother roots in music because you know all jazz and this whole world that's my roots, and so it's great to talk to someone who's knowledgeable about all that, because that's what fed me, and then I figured out how to sort of translate it into rock drumming.
Well, let's talk about that.
Oh, wait.
Yep. Go ahead.
All right, and I have to correct one thing in your introduction.
Do it. Yeah, no, there were definitely some discrepancies.
There's only one thing.
Yeah.
The late, great Ray Manzarek played the bass lines with his left hand, and Harvey Brooks, incredible bass player. I had such a joy playing with him on that album, Soft Parade. But the reason we had bass players, this was back so far that they didn't have Moog synthesizers, and the keyboard bass, this silly Fender Rhodes keyboard bass, was fine live, but it didn't have the punch we needed. So we always got bass players to sort of overdub Ray's bass lines, because the string of a Fender bass gives that pluck, that punch we needed.
I was going to say that makes sense, because I think when I interviewed Harvey, he said it was on a live tour, so that would make more sense. You really want a nice bottom end.
Harvey, I miss him.
That's so interesting to me. The thing that doesn't. I wanted you to talk a little bit before we get any farther here. This is one thing that's vexing to me. I've been through the legal system myself in various ways, but can you explain why or what the jury verdict was? Because it seemed like that was glossed over and immediately the judge's interpretations trumped everything. What was the jury's verdict?
Yeah, it's confusing. The jury, voted for me primarily, but they didn't award any monetary answers because the thing was so complicated that my lawyer kept saying, it's going to be, what's the word? It's going to be in the judge's hands because it's just too sophisticated financially or whatever the hell. So it turned out to be primarily the judge's decisions. Which is
most people would think of it saying, okay, the jury has the power, right? And then I know there was a lot of sort of, it all came down to financial stuff. And in my mind, the courtroom, I said, my God, there is this black guy in the double-breasted suit working for them, getting up, and I just wonder, in your mind, what is most important? It's not about the verdict, but what is most important message you want to get across when you go to these independent record stores and people say, John, why did you write the book? It's more than just setting the record straight. So tell the audience, why did you write this book?
Well, when I first entered this train wreck lawsuit, which, I kind of initiated, but I had to, because Jim's ghost was haunting me. Hardcore fans thought I was destroying the band they loved. And this book, if you read the whole thing, I'm trying to. It was beautiful in your introduction. Like Jim fed me, and I'm trying to honor my ancestor who's not here, and you and I can't talk to him. And all we have to go on is what he said when he was around. And he went ballistic when we considered, come on, Buick, light my fire.
It's always about the car companies, too.
It's funny. And, this is a song he primarily did not pen. They're mainly Robby's words. So, Jake, what does that say? That the guy was concerned about the catalog, the whole thing, everything we represented. So, that's why I wrote it.
I love it because you open the book, and for people that don't, first of all, I'm actually a little surprised. He was away at the time, and the three of you decided, let's go. You actually decided to.
Well, yeah, $75,000 back then which was today, I don't know, $250,000 or something, and we were young and we're salivating, and he brought us to our senses, didn't he? Fuck you.
Well, I love that. No, because he and the other thing that's so powerful about this is that you look at it and, he basically said, I don't want, even though, like you said, Krieger was, he penned that song, but most of the songs were written by Jim, and he goes, I don't want any of my name. I want the Doors.
Yeah.
Okay, and to me, here's an overarching question before we get down to the grit and gravy of it. I was thinking about it this morning. I look at primarily in the West, and you bring up three things here that are so vital: credibility, integrity, and honor. And you have to
say that again. Credibility.
Credibility. I'm reading out of your book here.
Oh.
I don't know the exact, but you talk about credibility, integrity, and honor, and not wanting to wind up being like a race car driver with corporate sponsors all over your body.
That's Tom Waits' line. Great line.
Great line. And I'm asking you, you know better than I do because you've been in this sort of this world for decades. And I look at it and I say in all facets, in commercial, in fashion, in music, in politics, in sports, I look at it, I see rage, I see dysfunction, and I say to myself, this is exactly the Waits comment, because there are many honorable people who have lost all their credibility, integrity, and honor because they have sold out. And could you talk, do you feel that as well? You are not one of those people, but in many ways, I look at so many people that, who do they align themselves with anymore? Buick, Cadillac for $50 million? Money has superseded everything.
Yeah, well, we live in a free society. You can make as much as you want or not want. It's just I don't want to. As Tom Waits said, when you lend your lyrics to a commercial, you've changed them into a jingle. And I'm not a new band trying to pay the rent. I get that. The music business is harder than ever. But in our case, Jim said, we're going to split everything because I don't know how to write a song. And so I know to the penny how much everybody's got, and everybody has a nice house and a couple of groovy cars, and Jim didn't want us to break on through to a new deodorant. So I'm not going to, I was 69 the other day. I'm going to stay with this all the way, and I'm putting it in my will like Adam Yonch.
How much of it growing up, tell me about going to Tijuana and drumming down there. I am fascinated with this idea.
No, I didn't drum in Tijuana. I went there, and I got a fake ID, a draft card. I was standing on the corner of whatever it was, Avenue de Revolution, and hey, you want my girlfriend, my sister, Benny's? Said no, I want a fake ID, and that got me into Shelley's Manhole and bars. I could play in bars, and so then I got fed by Coltrane and Miles and every great jazz musician you ever heard of. I saw them all live.
Talk about going to Shelley's, and talk about what the kind of things early on when you look at those jazz. I've interviewed enough of these guys. You got to sing for your supper, and these guys really didn't make a lot of money at all. There were no royalties. A lot of them never even saw the copies of the records they were on.
Yeah.
And what was it about the leadership and the stage presence of guys like Train and Miles that stood out to you when you first saw them?
Well, first of all, I'm going to segue because you said, what was it like? And I immediately flashed on sitting right next to Art Blakey's hi-hat, watching him do these press rolls, which I copped and stuck in, Wild Child and a couple other Doors songs. So, I'm watching the masters of this art form of improvisation, the highest improvisational art form there is, and it just really fed me. Miles and Coltrane were completely on their own individual road, kind of like Jim. They talk about compromise. They were uncompromisable. Here's another flash. McCoy Tyner leaves the stage, the pianist with Coltrane. Coltrane turns around and faces my idol, Elvin, and Jimmy Garrison stays in the pocket, and the two of them just go crazy. It's Chasing the Train tune for about 20 minutes, and it's just so primal. I'm sweating, and then I go home with my piano player friend, and we try and imitate it for a week,
It doesn't come close.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, I mean, that to me is, I don't see that. I'm jonesing for that.
Yeah.
I mean, and I love to be able to go back to Emil and to guys like the Skipper, Henry Franklin, Titans, the godfathers of the Los Angeles music scene, the underbelly, because that's where it's at. I look at I look at Soft Parade. I picked it up yesterday for $8 on vinyl, and there's the trombone player now
George Bohannon.
Faculty. We're so the same, man. I mean, I'm obsessed with the accompanists.
Yeah, Curtis Amy.
Roy Ayers. Roy wasn't on that album, but he got his start with Curtis Amy. But that talk about those. I'm curious because I want to make sure that I was right on that in my introduction, because I was saying to myself, Densmore he knew the Studio Cats. Talk about how you did.
Okay, so I would go to the Manhole and see the Paul Horn Quintet, which Miles said, Paul plays the horn the way it should be played, and Emil was there, of course, and I was just a kid, just drooling over this music, and years later, I jam with Emil and Paul, and I know exactly how to play those fast 3/4s that they did in that group. And they're turning around and smiling at me, and that's it for me. That's the ultimate. So,
what's the feeling like? Talk about that emotion. We don't talk about emotion in our society, but how beautiful as that look.
That I get what they are saying. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about music. It certainly transcends language and. Well, for example, I was in Costa Rica a month ago, and I performed with a local group, and I'm playing their tunes, and we played a couple Doors tunes, and they're all in Spanish. I speak a little, but I don't know what they're singing about, but I know this particular tune or that tune has got a cumbia pocket. I know how to do it, and they're smiling at me, and I'm smiling at them. Well, gee, this could heal the world. I mean, understanding other cultures through music is, big answer.
Tribal jazz. Just could you talk? That band is still a working group.
Well, it's sort of on the shelf right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I really got fed by that. I mean, people. Why would I be playing Doors songs with as I said in the Doors Unhinged, with a jimitator? I played it with the man.
A jimitator. I love the. No, I mean that's.
I played it with the man, so I had the ultimate high, and so I don't want to revisit it sort of watered down. But I'm in a band with two African drummers, one from Senegal whose brother plays with Youssou N'Dour, and the other one from Benin, and they are playing rhythms that are wiring up new capacitors in my brain. And I'm trying to translate them into the kit, the drum set. This feeds me. I know. I'm like, whoa, this is what I want, now. So
I've talked to a couple guys, from various Bay Area bands. One guy in particular was Paul Farso from the Loading Zone. He talked about actually being on a retreat with Maharishi, and you and Robby were in the group as well. And part of me looks at that, a period of time, World Pacific, Richard Bach, the idea that Maharishi, I mean, I put those albums out at home. My wife doesn't know what he's doing, but my kids, I'm doing it for my kids, and he's talking about love. And I'm saying this guy is coming over to the States. He's accessible. And I really, for the record, I couldn't ask any better person. Talk to me about how important, we miss guys like that.
Yeah, well, periodically these gurus come, and we caught, at first it was Yogananda in the 50s, but we caught Maharishi on his first tour, and I'm over at Ray's house, and Jim's there, and Ray's not there, and Jim puts on Maharishi's LP, and Maharishi's saying, "Love tickles the heart." And we're like cracking up. And so, I don't know, we were fooling around, as you said, with legal LSD, but I sensed that a little harsh on the nervous system,
Oh, yeah.
So this meditation thing takes years, but maybe it's better. And so we go to that. And Ray knows Dick Bock, and it's all 6 degrees of separation. When we go make our little demo at World Pacific, this is before Robby was in the band, Ravi Shankar and Rakha are packing up their gear while we're coming in. Oh, my God.
That's where Densmore and I, that's where the meeting of the minds. See, I'm obsessed with the idea that I know that Ravi would go to Shelley's Manhole and would play with Elvin Jones. And the idea of seeing him on a sitar and Elvin playing polyrhythms to me is, I'm searching. I'm dreaming. I'm in the fantasy.
Yeah.
But you're telling me that Morrison was the one that hipped you to Maharishi originally.
Well, no, Robby hipped me to Maharishi, and I went to the course, and Ray was there, and Jim wasn't there. And then I went down to jam at Ray's parents' garage in Manhattan Beach, and then I started hanging out, and we talked about Maharishi and whatever. And Jim said, I want to go see him, and I want to look in his eyes and see if he's got any knowledge.
Right.
And he said he did, but I'm not going to meditate.
No, I actually wrote that down. It says here, you say, Morrison said he looked into his eyes and saw something. And I love that. I mean,
yeah. Maharishi was the real deal. I mean, it became a big sort of McDonald's of spirituality because he got so big. But he personally was not into the dough, and he did not come on to Mia Farrow. And, he was pure.
Are there any sages that you work with or even visit now that are in the same? I just think the idea that you could go and interact with him on such an intimate level is so vital. There's yoga studios everywhere today, but I don't see the, and I know it was new at the time.
That's what we do here, Jake. We co-opt everything. But you're the next guru. Everybody, what do the Hopis say in there? A few years ago, the elders said, "We are the ones we are looking for," or something like that. Obama copped that line, but certainly now and then they'll come along a very high, sort of enlightened, conscious being or whatever. But we're all it.
Do you? Let me see here. I guess reflecting on Ray for a minute, because he left us earlier this year.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated. I think this is so important. I have a dear friend in town that is the same way. You talk about him being your nemesis, and then also the person who helped you grow most on the bandstand. And I'm fascinated with this dynamic of adversary and inspirational character. It's very true to me. So talk about that with Ray, because he was he was on the losing end of the lawsuit, but at the same time, let's not forget all the years of beautiful art.
Well, that's it. We were sort of, I guess he came from, so did I, a struggling lower middle class family, and once we got the brass ring, he wanted to hang on so friggin' tight. It was a bit over the top for me, but I will never, ever, I will always miss his left hand and my drums, which is the bass player and the drummer, which are brothers in the basement cooking the groove. And, we talked about, maybe someday we could have some jazz sax on some album. Curtis Amy. I mean, this was before we ever started, and he saw all the great jazz guys, and we were totally in sync just totally. And that's really what I miss so much. I mean, Ray and I were the rhythm section, and oh man, think about it. Okay, he split his brain in half, and his left hand. He did this cute little rap about how, well, my left hand is kind of. He's not really smart. He just plays this repetitive line, do 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 do.
Sure.
Which Ray kind of got from Boogie Woogie, and then his right hand would, solo. And actually, it was a challenge for me because when he would take a solo, he'd get excited, and the left hand would start to speed up a little in tempo, and I'd have to, whoa, hold it back now, Ray. But
I mean, it was you. That's the thing that kind of dawned on me. I said, holy shit. I said, Ray Manzarek was playing bass lines. I mean, again, this is my evolution with the Doors. And when Harvey said that, I said, that is amazing to me that he literally had to split his brain in half, play melodies, and then also play that. I mean, he was kind of like the poor man's Groove Holmes for all intents.
Oh, beautiful.
You know, right?
Groove Holmes' left hand, but Bach in the right hand.
Right, exactly.
That's Bach, you know. So he had Glen Gould in the right hand and Groove Holmes on the left.
Oh, this is another Densmore classic thing that he'll love. I just heard this recently. Someone asked Ray Brown, who's your favorite bass player? And he said it's Richard Groove Holmes' left hand.
That's so great.
You know?
And I wrote a review of OP and Crew for the LA Weekly 100 years ago. And I said that Ray Brown plays a groove so deep that the mud splatters halfway up his pant legs.
Oh, wait, do we have where's the copy of that? Is that online? I need to read that immediately.
It's just a few paragraphs in some local throwaway. I got it somewhere.
Is it fair to say though, John, that that at a certain point in history, around the time of the infancy of the Doors joining forces, that there was always a music industry, but the executives were very naive to what the younger cats like yourselves were doing. They just said, we just want to make money. As long as we're making money, that's cool. So it's sort of whatever was going on, all the sort of mixing of the different ethnic spices and all the flexibility within the music itself. And of course, how powerful the music was. It was because there wasn't, somehow the people at the top were disconnected enough from the actual youth that were making it. Is there any validity in that?
Yeah, they kind of left us alone.
That's what I mean.
If it was, the Beatles sort of started the idea of writing their own material. You know, Elvis kind of didn't do that so much. And once that got going, I think the execs sort of thought, oh, well, this stuff's selling. We better just let them do their thing, you know. Although they would pick singles and stuff, you know. But and Jack Holzman, the president of Elektra, it was a boutique kind of label, and we were excited because Paul Butterfield was on there, and it had some cool folk acts, Joni Mitchell, and so it was kind of a family. We could talk to them on the phone.
That's and when you say they left you alone, compare that to the sort of. There were like Richard Bach is a perfect example of a guy that had good taste, but then when it came down to the musicians themselves, he knew to get out of the way. Don't go into an area that you don't know anything about. And
he knew about Indian music and jazz, but he's one of the most hands-off producers there was. He left Bud Shank and Ravi Shankar alone. He made sure the sound was good, but he let them do their thing.
Well, we're gonna go with track of music here. This is I want to make sure because Densmore, what he says in his book a lot is that he framed his drum beats around Morrison's vocals, but it's my job today on this program to show off the diversity of John Densmore. So let's take a listen to this track and we'll come back and talk about it.
Beautiful.
Ships with sails. I listened to the middle part. We missed the Manzarek's piano solo on that, but just the idea. Whose idea was it to bring in Francisco Aguabella to that?
Well, that was Emil Richards, and he's like, he's a guru of Cuban pocket, and
yeah, I know, but I think about that and I'm like, boy, did they ever think about getting Francisco up on stage live with Morrison's poetry?
Yeah.
But that was really, talk about your jazz chops as a drummer, and then when you first got into working with Jim, were there natural sort of techniques that you could use, or was it something that one of the things that was exciting was that you were starting from new again? It was interesting in the book reading about how you kind of heard percussion within his lyrics. I'd like you to talk to the audience about that. Yeah.
All right, so I'm in Ray's parents' garage, and there's this kid in the corner with bare feet and drinking a beer, facing the wall. He's so shy. It's real handsome, and Ray hands me a scribbled piece of paper with some of his words, and they say, "Day destroys the night, night divides the day. Tried to run, tried to hide, break on through to the other side." And I'm like, whoa, that's percussive. And so at the time, Bossa Nova was coming up from Brazil. It was a girl from Ipanema was big. And I knew this feel, which was sort of restrained, and I thought, break on through to the other. I can do this bossa nova, but I can fit it into Jim's lyrics and make it a little stiffer for rock and roll, which is what I did.
You made it, and you articulated that absolutely beautifully there. But the Brazilian, so it was the Afro. I mean, that was the other thing. It was so new. The Afro-Cuban influences were new. The Brazilian influences were new. I always wonder. I'm thinking about, you were established as a band, and you didn't necessarily, you were in the studios when you cut your albums, and I've interviewed other cats, Chuck Rainey, Ed Green, all these incredible rhythm cats who were enhancing Tim Buckley albums, Barbra Streisand, Willie Hutch. Can you tell me about your view of the LA studio scene, especially when like Motown moved to Hollywood, and did you ever play in the scene, or was there ever a point where you said, gosh, I really would like to do that?
Well, I don't know about when Motown came, but the studio scene is pretty locked. There's maybe, it still is, there's 50 guys who they always hire, and they're great, and they're incredible readers, just staggering. And when we came along, we did everything, without charts. We'd scribble down some chord changes or whatever, but it was all just free. And so sometimes I was envious of those studio guys, but, we had our own thing. And then once in a while, we'd hire some of them to help us out. So that's sort of how it went.
How would you go about, when you wanted to bring different cats in, would you send a feeler out to Emil? Or?
At first, the first album, Paul Rothchild got Larry Knechtel, I think.
Yep.
The late Larry Knechtel. He played wonderful session bass player who just sort of duplicated Ray's stuff. And then for a few years we had Doug Lubon, who was a bass player that Rothchild got, and Ray Neapolitan. But then, for example, Lonnie Mack, the guitar player, was walking down the studio hallway one day, and we were playing this blues, Roadhouse blues, and hey, Lonnie, would you play bass on this? And
I read that, yeah.
Talk about a pocket, oh my God. That's the thing about Elvin or Harvey Brooks or what, it's the feel that's to drummers, I love what Ringo said when drum machines were invented. He said, "I'm the drum machine."
That's right. And Keltner the same way. It's like, if you can't play a rhythm, then why are you doing it? Why do you need a machine?
And Keltner and I have talked about Ringo, and he's just, people put him down sometimes for not so much technique, but the feel. And to drummers, the space between a beat and the next beat is the whole deal. And if you push it, then you're sort of playing military Irish marching band stuff. If you wait to the last second to play the next beat, you're playing the blues, you know. And that's a huge thing to us. And when the Doors first started, we jammed on the blues. But and then when we got into our originals, Ray and I were finding the feel, and Jim's words gave it to me, that was appropriate for those songs. And thank God we felt the thing the same, me and Ray, you know.
Can you talk about you know, just the fact I took a book out from the library. It was kind of a marginal book. It was on the Doors. I can't remember the author's name. It was all right. And of course, I'm reading it last night before I pass out, and there's the Lonnie Mack story. And I'm just curious, how do you communicate with Jim Morrison these days?
That's good. Well, at the end of my new book, The Doors Unhinged, I have a letter I write directly to Ray and Robby, and I talk about, Jim came to me in a dream last night. And, you know, periodically that does happen. And in this one, he was all dressed up in an Armani suit. but he wasn't loaded, you know.
Right.
He became an alcoholic. That was what got him. And he wanted to play, wanted to sing. I don't know what that means, but it feeds me. It makes me feel good. You know, like there's some communication there.
Yeah, no, that's what I feel very much. I mean, if it's it doesn't matter if it's the Senator Eugene Wright or anybody. I mean, there's cats where you know, I'll for me it's like I'll be thinking about them or harping on them or grooving on them, and then next thing you know, I'm running into them a rare record at a record store.
Yeah.
And that to me is the mystical part of it. And
yeah.
For those that didn't see the Doors in their prime, did you guys? I'm always fascinated. I'm learning now about when I talk to guys like John Sebastian or even guys like more obscure guys. There was this fusing of like blues bands and the Chitlin circuit. And did you guys ever hit the Chitlin circuit? Because I know you would do the Whiskey A Go-Go, and that was pretty standard, and there was you opened for certain acts. But did you do mixed race stuff? And did you ever hit the Chitlin circuit?
No, we didn't, but we certainly knew about it. Loved the music, and went to the Whiskey to see Jimi Hendrix when he came out of the Chitlin circuit, and had our minds ripped off. So, you know, it's all cross-pollinating. It was interesting, you know, Love, this Arthur Lee and Love were on Elektra, and at the time, you know, funk was happening, which was great, and here comes this black guy sort of doing folk rock, a racially mixed band, and it was really cutting edge and very inspiring.
I was going to say, I was way back when I started this journey on the radio, I was in a Goodwill, and I find this album from 1975 on Blue Thumb, the Butts Band, Here and Now. And I got to tell you, man, I danced my baby to sleep. Right now my engineer is AWOL because I want to crank this one song, but it is the most powerful album I mean, it's really amazing, and I'm trying to figure out where is this guy Carl Rucker located now, because this guy was dropping bombs, dude.
Yeah, that was definitely Chitlin influence, groove, disco influence. We were having fun.
It was. Are you kidding me? Well, let's hit it. Can we?
All right.
Can we crank up that tune, Jim? All right, here we go.
I wonder if I could be dreaming. I pinched my arm, but there was feeling. I know that seeing is believing. Are you just a dream, or really what you seem? Don't wake up. Don't wake up at all. Don't wake up. Don't wake up. Don't wake up. How am I gonna make up all the time I've lost thinking about you? The time that we have left is fleeting. And look how close our hearts are beating. Another dream would be defeated. You can't just be a dream. You must be what you seem. Don't wake up. Don't wake up. I don't wanna see the daylight. Don't wake up. I do all my loving at night. Don't wake up. Don't wake up. Tell me everything is alright. It's alright. It's alright.
I mean, I love how you come around on that, man.
Boy, you're giving me a flashback, Jake.
No, because this is the point. Is my job today. You had to stay in the pocket with Morrison quite a bit on the Doors, and here I get to hear you. I mean, I pulled this after 50 cents, and it's the most. I mean, this is in the collection for life. I mean, this is the. I just feel like things had not gone south at this point, and.
No, you know, Robby and I put the Butts Band together after the Doors, and in fact, it had a couple permutations. One of the albums we did in Jamaica before reggae came to the States, and we knew what was coming. And we covered Get Up, Stand Up, a few years before Clapton did I Shot the Sheriff. And we heard that Marley liked our version. You know, we were the first honkies to do it. And I'm proud of that. But, you know, I'm always looking for the new rhythms and what's happening in reggae with a mind for drummers. You know, Marley's line, playing a rhythm, fighting against the system. Yeah, they put the bass drum on 2 and 4 instead of 1 and 3, which is rock and roll. And it's simple but mind blowing.
I'm just in awe. I mean, I'm so glad that Marley was proud of that version, because it is an awesome. We don't have time to play it, but it's like, it is really one of the coolest versions of that song. And for the first time, I can actually hear the lyrics. And I'm like, holy cow, these are really prescient, man. Oh, yeah. I was going to play the one about Jesus or something. I mean, it's just, the guy just threw down the gauntlet.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I got a question here from a avid fan, and I wanted to get your take on it. Okay, so it's what is it like to be so sensitive and watch the whole thing go down? I guess that's the evolution or dissolution of the Doors. And how did that inform your life as a man and a drummer? in 4 minutes.
Well, not to be Catholic, I am a renegade Catholic, of course, but it was like being crucified, because I'm in a band. I'm making a living off music. My path in life is doing something I love. Oh, and there's a crazy kamikaze in the band. It was really difficult. And at the time, we didn't have substance abuse clinics, and we didn't, we just kind of, I knew there was an elephant in the room, and I couldn't give it up. It was hard. I quit around the third album for one night, threw my sticks down, and then I came back the next day, and nobody said anything, thank God. I couldn't give it up. Jim knew I disapproved of his self-destruction, And it's funny, some people have written that Jim and I were, well, Sugarman in his book said that I was so mad at Jim, I had white knuckle grip on my sticks. And here I am, the guy who really is trying to support what he was about. So,
yeah, I mean,
interesting.
You cared about him and didn't want to see him.
Yeah, it's called tough love, in the AA world or whatever. So.
Did you ever? Yeah, I mean, that's always one of those hard things. I can't even imagine when you see someone like of his level,
right.
Begin to tear himself down. But
you can't. You can say things, but ultimately, one has to switch it inside. And with time, I've accepted that he was meant to live 27 years and make a big impact. Shooting star, quick goodbye, and
I love the idea, and also this book Unhinged, which, by the way, for the audience, John Densmore will be at Zia Records on December 14th, 2 p.m. On Speedway.
I think I'm at the 13th, and I'm on the 14th in Tucson.
You're
at Tucson.
You're working too much. You're tired.
Excuse me, man. Where am I?
But the thing, you got to meet Jim's dad.
Yeah.
And the Admiral. And I think that was probably one of the more powerful symbolic statements of that trial, was just the idea that his family was there to witness this sort of, but that's really it, man. I mean, I think that's what I'm looking at too. I think back and I say, okay, John is trying to make a point about integrity. He's trying to stand up for a lost brother, a long lost brother, and yet, what's the proper response from your bandmates? And it's, we're going to countersue him for $40 million. That to me is twisted. That's what our society is now.
Yeah,
it's okay. I'm doing.
And I confronted Robby. He said, "Oh, that's what lawyers do." Oh, well, thanks a lot. More money than all of us have ever made collectively in our entire life. Oh, okay. Of course, he could say back to me, "Well, you started this train wreck." But let's go back to the Admiral, because this was like, I think I wrote that this was kind of metaphorically a healing of the 60s in a way. Because here's this guy. He's an admiral in the Navy. Jim has written in his original bio that his parents are deceased.
Unbelievable.
That's how heavy the polarization of the 60s was between the establishment and the anti-war people. And so Admiral Steve is in the Gulf of Tonkin commanding several aircraft carriers, and we write The Unknown Soldier, and due to his son's antics, he doesn't get promoted to full admiral, because that's a political promotion, and he stays at rear admiral. So his son has given him a lot of grief. But what does he do at 86 years old? He joins me, and he comes to the Los Angeles courthouse to protect his son's legacy. Oh, my God. We're talking healing here.
Yeah, and you know what? If I ever need a high-powered lawyer, I'm hiring that guy with the Hawaiian shirt, because he was that guy
He's great.
Ran the table. But
he's my pal. I can't believe I'm saying that.
he's not
a high-powered guy. He always says, I'm a Santa Monica country lawyer. But he's real smart, and he knows. He took out Goliath. Excuse me. The other lawyers were huge corporate Cincy City dudes, and he knew how to, David slung his arrows.
Well, also it was The Emperor Has No Clothes, because the interesting part about it was a lot of it tied into music and music history. They didn't even know how to pronounce certain names,
right.
So it was almost laughable. But how do you when you see younger, I mean, Zia, just using the Tucson as an example, Phoenix the day before, you're all over the place. When you see younger kids wide-eyed, what do you?
That must be the drumming, Jake. No.
What do you say? I mean, how?
It's so touching when I've even had 3 generations family come up in one group. There'll be the dad who turned the daughter on to Doors music, and she's holding a baby.
Right.
It's so touching. I don't know.
Well,
feeds me. What can I say?
Well, we will be seeing you a week from Saturday, and we'll be in touch. And hopefully after some time passes, we can maybe pick up on a part 2. But I really look forward to meeting you in person, man. And
yeah, definitely.
I respect the heck out of everything that you have and continue to do. So carry on. And
hey, Jake, I really appreciate your vast knowledge of different kinds of music. It's really good.
There's only 2 kinds of music. It's either good or bad. You know? Adios, my friend. We'll see you soon.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
It's the Jake Feinberg Show. We'll see you all in a little bit.